So, guys, first podcast in English. Jesus Christ.
Do we even speak English? Do we even speak?
I don't know. Better English and I do Spanish. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, the judge here is Elliott.
I mean,
English, yeah?
I just brought it for one reason. I just wanted to test you because you've been living in Dublin, Ireland, for the last year or so.
Yep.
But Elliott has an accent that is a mix of accents from all the UK. So you think Irish accent is hard? Let's see what you can do.
This is true. Most Spanish people really struggle to understand me, but they'll understand Scouse, Geordie, Manc, Irish, Scottish, no problem. Just not mine. It's true.
That's why there's a lot of places there around your voice. Yeah.
I think it's because he has a mix of accents because he's been all over the UK. So then he has some things that are from the north, some things that are from sunny Brighton, and then
south, southwest, and north.
Yeah.
But all quite strong regional accents everywhere I've been. Yeah. Pick up strange words from each one.
I remember the first meeting I had in UP, like in person. It was Elliott, Nick, one guy called Sash, and me. And for the first half an hour, I couldn't understand shit that they were saying. And then I was saying something, and then Nick would ask me what I thought about it, and I was like,
everything good.
Yeah,
it's half an hour. I've spent 5 years not understanding what the fuck you were saying.
I cheated because I need You couldn't make money any other way? Bullshit. Life is this. I like this.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I feel the need for speed.
Good morning, good evening, and good night. Jesus Christ, I'm saying this in English. That's great. You'll know it. This is ETHOS Podcast, and we are here in Marbella with the guys. The guys. Alberto, Álvarez, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good, thank you.
Eduardo Barrecheguren, Edu.
I'm having the time of my life because your voice changes when it goes in English.
Yeah, obviously everyone.
Funny.
Yeah, it goes up a little bit. Yeah.
Mine does the opposite. Mine goes down.
Yeah. And obviously, Elliott Upton, how are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be here with everybody on your first Spanish podcast.
Yeah,
first English podcast, rather.
So, first question. Do I say your names and my name, British version or Spanish version? I mean, is Alberto and Edu or Alberto and Edu? That's a tough one, huh?
Does this even deserve an answer?
Yeah, always. I always deserve an answer, man.
Do your best.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think it's harder to change. If you're speaking with an English accent, it's easier for you to keep on going. Even if I say Carlo, then say Carlo when you're speaking. Yeah.
That's perfect.
So, up to you.
So, Edu, why is Elliott Upton sit here in our coach?
We brought Elliott because he has a vast experience in the fitness industry. He's been a trainer for many years, and he's also in charge of mentoring all the trainers, of hiring all the trainers. He's in charge of the Live Up online training from Ultimate Performance. So anyone that follows that knows what that means. That means high standards, that means loads of results. So I want him to explain to us what he thinks is going wrong in the fitness industry for both clients and trainers alike. Like why do most trainers leave the industry within 2 years? What are they doing wrong, and how can they develop a career like his or like other people that are developing long-term careers in the fitness industry?
Okay, so I'm going to start with not a question, just a word, and I want you to give some background, some context to it. Fitness, online, and patience in social media and all the strategy. How do you put the context
If I was
there?
to put those three together, from my point of view, my instinctual answer to that is that people try to take their fitness and their businesses online without being patient enough to lay the groundwork. You know, the online industry is... Let's start with the fitness industry. The fitness industry is an industry where you can earn a lot of money, but it has the lowest barrier to entry of any industry where you can earn any level of half-decent income. So it's attractive to a lot of people, especially anyone who's ever done a day's exercise in their life, because they think, I want to do this and I want to earn money out of it. The problem is now that we have social media that has latched on to fitness in a very, very big way, and that means that people bypass the foundations that they need to learn and then go straight into being an online trainer. Huge issue with that is you can only be an online trainer when you've learned to read between the lines. You only learn to read between the lines when you've seen everything go right or wrong for every possible type of client. You need to know that when you program this for a client, one of 50 different things could happen. You need to be able to read the client and see what happens. These foundations are not laid because the new PTs, these online trainers, are not patient enough to understand you're going to have to put 10 to 15 hours, 1,000 hours worth of work. Now, it seems a lot, but that disappears pretty quickly when you're a busy PT. You're going to need that foundation of 10 to 15,000 hours before you become an online trainer. Because not only are you going to be pretty shit at it, but ethically, you're putting your paying clients in an unsafe position because you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Basically.
Absolutely. So basically the thing is, I think now it's very fashionable, the whole becoming an online trainer. People think that you work with a computer in the beach. I've never worked with my computer in the beach. Regardless of where I am in the world, I always work in a coffee shop or in a room. It's exactly the same. My days look the same, whether I'm in Thailand, I'm in Madrid, I'm in Marbella, where the fuck I am. And what people don't understand is that you cannot be a good online trainer unless you've been in the trenches enough and you've been able to evaluate on the spot what can go wrong, how to change it on the spot, and how can you predict what can go wrong, which is it's a much harder job, in my opinion, to be an online trainer than a personal trainer when it comes to programming, because when you're a live PT, you can change the program if you see something's going wrong. When you're an online trainer, you put the program, and if the person is not able to do something, it's your fault. They don't have anyone there to tell them, to coach them into doing it, to change it, to this, to that. So
you have to predict the variables long before they happen and plan for the solution within the program. Because especially with online clients, it's very, very easy to feel alone or lose faith extremely quickly. And you mentioned, before being an online trainer, you need to spend time in the trenches. Before being a good trainer, you need years in the trenches. It's not a case of, I've been in the gym for a year. One of the biggest personalities on social media right now in the fitness industry, it's laughable because every time he says, and he is one of the biggest online personal trainers because he's an entertainer and a marketer, but he brags about doing 5,000 hours of personal training. To me, it's laughable. To most people in the industry, that's laughable. That's not experience. That's a junior.
Yep.
So,
did you say enter-trainer?
Enter-trainer.
Enter-trainer?
And the trainer?
Enter-trainer.
He's an enter-trainer.
Definitely an enter-trainer, yeah. Without doubt, he's an enter-trainer, for sure. I think adding trainer to that, rather than just being entertainer, is quite kind.
I think one of the problems that we find on social media as well is that people are not looking for how can I sharpen my tools, how can I be the best trainer I can be. Rather, they are chasing likes, they are chasing praise. So I remember joining UP, and I know for a fact that it was the same for Elliott. When you join somewhere like UP, you feel the pressure to you have to perform at a world-class level, because that's what is expected from anyone that wears that polo, and that's what anyone that comes from outside your gym expects from you. You know what I mean? Like, you have new clients coming in, you have other trainers coming in to do courses, and they look at how you do things to see, are they really that good? And the problem is that most trainers, when they're online, because they don't have to be accountable, they don't have to respond to any organism, they don't have to respond many times to any boss or anything, they answer emails very late. If they do, they send cookie cutter programs because they don't feel the pressure to keep the standard high.
No accountability, which is the most powerful thing, not only for your client, but for you as a trainer or as a business person, is, making yourself accountable to if you're that strong-willed, or somebody else at the very least, business partner, friend, whatever. It's hugely important, and it is, you're right, something that's very, very much missing for an online trainer.
For whoever is not in the fitness industry, we could say that you need to have a good product before you market that product, right?
I don't even necessarily think that. You need to know enough about the product itself before you create a product. I think a lot of people can create a good product, but they've usually plagiarized it. They've taken it from someone else. Now, if you have a good product that you are selling that you have taken from someone else, which is hugely common in the fitness industry, that's fine, because initially you're going to be able to sell that product really well, and people are going to think, this is amazing, until something goes wrong. Yep. And that lack of understanding of that product means that when something does go wrong, there's no way of fixing it because you don't understand why it is that way in the first place. I could sell an amazing TV, something like that, and then it goes wrong, but I don't have the ability to repair it, fix it, make anything work the way it's supposed to work.
Everyone can do a fancy and sexy website, and
exactly.
A fancy design of everything, but not everyone can, in this case, train.
Correct. The understanding of the product and the understanding of how to deliver that to the real world and real people, that's more important than the product itself, because the product itself will develop over time. Yep. It will always usually start off quite shit, but every time something goes wrong, you'll make it better. You'll make it better. You make it better.
Yeah. The question that always pops in my mind when I hear this, because I find myself constantly saying this to myself, being like, how can I make this better? How can I surround myself with people that are better than me so this can go better, can grow higher? What's the ego problem in the fitness industry?
Nice question.
That we can actually. So if I'm good at marketing, say, or if I'm good at nutrition, why am I not searching for the best training partner, the best business partner, the best marketing guy, the best SEO, the best, so then we can create a kick-ass product and then just penetrate the market and help people, actually?
Because, I don't necessarily think that's isolated to the fitness industry. There's a huge issue, certainly in an industry that's so young, and I mean that in both senses, in that the fitness industry is a relatively new industry. You'd go 15, 20 years ago, it was still, if you were into fitness, you're a bit of a weirdo. Like you were the other side of society, whereas now very much so. You know, I remember when I first came to Marbella and you started to meet the Scandinavians. Now, fitness in Scandinavia, you're a social level up. It's not a weird thing, whereas still in the UK, it's catching up slowly. But in the UK, if you spend half of your time in the gym, you're a weirdo. You're egotistical, you're all of these things. So that's starting to change, which is a very, very good thing. But also in the fact that the people in the fitness industry, i.e. the personal trainers, are very, very young. The majority of personal trainers, I wouldn't know statistically, but the majority of them are probably sub 30. None of us mature properly until we're probably in our 30s because we've fucked up a lot. We've made the mistakes. We've let our ego and our emotions get in the way of things. And that's when our humility starts to come in. And you'll find that unless you have a very, very unique young trainer, they will already think they're the best after doing it for a year. They won't think they need to know everything. They won't, all of these things compound to create sometimes the illusion of ego. The industry itself is, let's be honest, based on body image. It's based on how people feel about the way they look. That in itself is going to give you two sides. It's going to give really egotistical wankers, but it's also going to give you people who put on an ego because they're that insecure that it kind of reverses itself. And all of these reasons start to create this weird mixing pot within the industry. And people aren't prepared to say, I don't know this. You know, I don't know how to do this. I need somebody's help. Because then that puts a little visible chink in their armor. You know, and they don't like that because it makes them feel like they're not good enough when, you know, if you're firing, the people you're going to look for are not the people who are the best at the job now. They're the people who have that humility because that's how you're going to build a business. That's how you're going to build a good team. That's how you know you're going to be able to service a client best because the client's best interests are going to be in the forefront of that trainer's mind as opposed to these egotistical lot where their best interests are in the forefront of their mind. They're not thinking about the client.
Nothing to add to that. I think I 100% agree with that. And I think social media makes it 10 times worse because I think we had that before social media, especially I would say before Instagram, not even like Facebook. But I think then you get something like Instagram in which people get likes and praise based on their body image rather than on how good they are at their job. And then suddenly like the game is about getting likes, getting attention, getting this, getting that from people that from the start are also narcissistic and probably have ego problems. And then when you're trying to get into that industry, it's an industry that's supposed to be about helping others, and you get a lot of people that are all about getting attention themselves. And then the mechanisms of reward and punishment are quite flawed when it comes to social media, because if you're a good trainer, you're not going to get results from one day to the next. It's going to take months, if not years, especially to get consistent results. And then those rewards will come later in your career. While if you look good, you just go into social media, you just pop a picture, you get a lot of likes, and all of a sudden you think you're the shit because you're getting way more likes than other people. And then you get these entertainers because there's people like, okay, if I make a funny joke, whatever, even if it's not helping anyone, even if what I'm saying is bullshit, I'm going to get a lot of likes. That's what fits my ego. I'm the shit. And then many times they make the connection in their brain. The more likes I get, the better trainer I am. And that creates that loop of people that think they are the new best trainer or the new thing. They don't think they have to learn from anyone. They don't listen to older people. They don't listen to people that have way more experience than them because their feedback they're getting from all the people on a platform, on a social media platform, it's not even like real life, it's not even the gym floor, is you are the shit. I think also when you go into social media, there's one thing that is, you get the like button on social media, right? Or like Instagram. You don't have a button that is, I don't like this or this is bullshit. So you only get, either you get a hater putting a comment or you only get
YouTube, right? YouTube do that, right?
Yeah,
I don't like this.
Yeah,
so that you don't get real feedback. You only get, so for example, let's say that I put a post and I get 1,000 likes. Maybe 3,000 people thought it was shit, but I don't get that feedback of 3,000 people. I only get 1,000 likes. I'm like, I'm the shit.
Because then people would not go on the app. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, the social media, you're exactly right in everything you've just said, but social media is also, it's removed the geographical limitations of an ego boost. Once upon a time, your mates used to give you a high five and say, yeah, you look sick. Now, you've got 1,000 weirdos on Instagram saying, yeah, you look sick. That's hugely damaging because these people now think they are famous. They think their value their worth is based on how many likes they get. You try to use it as a currency. This is one of the things we all see in restaurants, gyms. We get it in the gym all the time. People coming in, can I train for free because I've got 50,000 followers?
Really?
You can maybe be able to train for free at another gym, but you can fuck off out of this one.
Did you get that?
All the time. Yeah.
Damn.
We got that one.
All the time. All the time.
Big ass space.
But, there's no reason to lose your humility. And when that happens, I will go out of my way to say, this is not your gym. You need to leave.
I don't know if you remember once, back in 2016 or 17, one guy that came in and was like, my mate was in the cover of Muscle and Fitness Switzerland last month. Can we? And I'm like, okay. He's like, can we train for free? I'm like, no, I don't think so. He's like, can you ask Nick Mitchell? I was like, you don't want me to ask Nick Mitchell.
You don't want that. He'd come out with the proper answer. Yeah, I once shook the hand of Greg Plitt at Body Power. Can I train for free?
Yeah. Another thing with social media, and links perfectly with this that we were talking about, is the new thing, the new pill, the new keto diet who's gonna fix your shit in, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
How's this affecting to the fitness industry?
We live in a short-term oriented society. I mean, we want the biggest TV, we want the next car. When I saw your car, he drives a very nice car, by the way. When I saw your car, I like cars, so I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have one. But I'm 30 plus, so now I get but it's going to take me time if I really want one. So I now review the odds and what I need to do and the sacrifices that need to be made. So then I put things in a table and be like, maybe I don't really want it. Maybe I just want the experience. Okay, cool, I'll keep going. If I really want it, then I'll sacrifice what I need to do. But when you're sub 30, like you said before, that doesn't happen very often. So you are like, oh, I want that car. I wonder, so he's a trainer at UP. Oh, okay, so then I go this, and then I look at social media. Oh, so I have to post my picture with naked and flash my abs, and then do this, and then do that, and then get the likes, and then use a fake currency. Short term, I like, and then you imagine the dream is going to come right here. I'm just going to have the car. And then maybe you do get it because you ask for the credit, and you start lying to yourself. And then, who knows? We spoke about this in the car earlier. 20, 30 years down the road, you have this midlife crisis, which isn't that midlife crisis, for fuck's sake. It's just you made the wrong choices earlier on. So you're like, what the hell do I do now? It's all fake. One
of the things my dad said, he came out, before he died, he came out and visited here, and we were talking about when you turn 40. And with him, it wasn't crisis, it wasn't things like that. And you know how the saying in British, you've probably got some crazy one in Spanish that makes no sense at all. Like what you said earlier, hairy tongue.
Yeah, hairy tongue.
Hairy tongue.
Yeah. Put some context there.
Oh, hairy tongue. Okay.
There you go.
that one.
But he said it's not about life starting at 40. Is that suddenly all of your mistakes make sense. You understand why you do them, and you won't do it again. But he says he quite clearly said it was like when I was 40, I realised that every fuck up I'd made, the steps that led to it, and then I was like, and now I understand how not to do it.
When 2011, I remember I delivered a seminar in Virgin Active, Ealing Broadway. I apologize to anyone if he's watching this. I talked about the paleo diet. And at that time, I thought the paleo diet was the shit, was the human diet. That was
Everybody
the way to eat. Yeah. I chased 40 plus people that were in the room for years to apologize, to be like, hey, the evidence changed. I was wrong. I learned this. This is the new evidence-based. This is the middle ground. Okay, it's not that was wrong, but maybe not as extreme as I put it in the seminar. So.
Edu and I have discussed this many, many times over the years, that one of the things I've been doing this for about 14 odd years now, and I've seen thousands of trainers, not only people I've worked with, but, people in other gyms when I've been about, and it always makes me laugh. Even when I was younger, it made me laugh seeing how rapidly trainers will buy into the last thing that was sold well to them. And it just shows how close-minded a trainer is. And you will see them. They'll go out on a course, they'll go and do something at a weekend. The next day, every program changes. Done. Everything's flipped on its head. Because instead of taking the context and thinking, right, what was good, what was bad, what was right, what was wrong, how does it apply? That's it. They flip it on its head. There's a training system that so many of the kind of upper level of the industry jumped on in the UK, which is much more so about delivering tension and using this band and that band and mechanics and blah, 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 blah. It sounds great in a social media post when you're talking to a certain type of gullible person. However, when you've got 50 to 60 minutes to train a client and you spend 15 of them setting up bands, This is not a realistic approach to training. Context is absolutely everything. And it's something that young trainers, old trainers, experienced trainers just don't quite understand. Is that, yes, go out and learn everything. Number one, people ask me all the time, what should I read? Everything. Figure out what you enjoy and then focus on reading that. Because if you try and read the shit that you're bored of, you're not going to take it in. Find the things that you enjoy by studying a little bit of everything. Then once you've done that, question everything you learn. Because it's not necessarily as black and white as you think it is. Once you've questioned it, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because if the person who is teaching it is a half-decent teacher, they'll appreciate the fact that you've questioned it. Because you're trying to get context. They know that information is then going to be delivered. And then the final step is context. Who am I delivering this to? How am I delivering it? And is it really that useful? Usually, no.
Not really. No.
Quite often it comes back to the same really basic stuff that we've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. But it's not as exciting when it's being sold on social media or in a seminar or this, that, and the other.
Yeah, and that's the problem, though. That it takes a lot to be good at your job. It takes a lot of reading, a lot of mistakes. How do we have, again, the patience?
I just think that most people, I think what Elliott said is very relevant, because most people don't master the basics because they're not sexy enough. And that's the main thing.
It's just not exciting.
They don't understand, when it comes to programming, they don't understand, certain amounts of volume for certain intensity. They don't understand the basic movement patterns and how to check if someone is doing that correctly, and how to make a workout in which you target the right patterns, the right muscles, this and the other. Because that's not sexy, and they want to be, again, they do entertaining. They try to be the latest shit, they try to be fun, they try to, I'm going to do something that no one else knows, I'm going to do something that, and at the end of the day, the problem is that they are, what pisses me off the most with this is that they're not just cheating themselves, they're cheating on their clients many times without even knowing it. Those people are paying them a lot of money per hour because they think that there's a trusted advisor. Okay, this guy knows, and I'm paying a lot of money because I'm putting my health, my self-esteem in this person's hands. And this guy might not know shit, and then all he's doing is just like, okay, I'm just going to do something flashy so that you think that your hour with me is well spent.
I mean, it's way cooler to say, hey, I'm eating only avocados to recalibrate my hormones than just eat less or eat better, you know?
And I think way cooler. We've all bought into many of those. I was team no carbs for a while. I'm just only team no carbs now. Team no carbs. And it's like, and then I went through that as well. And it's saying like, okay, high intensity, low volume, and DC training is the shit. And then you go to, well, GVT is the shit. And it's like, well, look, there's a place for GVT. There's a place for DC. There's a place for many programs, because you need to understand the principles. It's not the method, it's the principles behind them and when they work. But again, that's not sexy, that doesn't sell books. Having a book about a specific type of training, having a book about a specific diet sells way more than teaching people how to eat or teaching people how to train.
All right, I have a question for you. We do have online training also, like you.
Yeah.
And one of the worst part, not the worst part, sorry, one of the hardest part is playing with the mindset of the clients. They want something, and you know that they shouldn't be wanting that, and you need to point that way instead of that way.
Yep.
How do you do it?
For me, it's a combination of two things. The people who buy into me, they know me. Yep. They know what I stand for. They know where I go. So by the time they've got to me, they're going to listen. Yep. I know that, because I'm not going around trying to recruit clients, hit left, right and center. The people who are coming to me because they're interested in something I've got to say, by the time I've got them there, they already know what to expect from me. If, for whatever reason, they question something on the other side of that, then my first port of call would be to kick them in the nuts, no, metaphorically, kick them in the nuts. I will literally say, listen, right, this is what you're asking. This is why it's incorrect. This is what the better option is. You know, so understanding the context, understanding what they've seen and why it doesn't apply to them if it doesn't. And, you know, sometimes it does. That would be my first port of call, because you need to be able to make sure the client understands why they're doing something, and then they will do it. Some people want to be blindly directed, but if someone's questioning what you've asked them to do, they're the kind of person you need to read into and say, this person needs to understand why. They don't want to be blindly directed because they won't listen to it. So first port of call is also always going to be understanding and education for me. And obviously within reason. If you're doing a huge amount of online clients, you can't spend 5 hours sitting down with one client explaining why. But as I say, I think the priority above all else is you as a business, as a brand, as an individual, is to be very, very clear in what you stand for, what you deliver, why you deliver it, because then the people who come to you to buy that product, they already know what it is.
Yep.
and they trust it.
100%. I think that's one of the problems in the industry that many people sold out. That the biggest thing that you can see is when people sold out to supplement companies, when they sold out to like going to what is the game, like Body Expo, one of those.
Body Power, yeah.
Body Power, that type of
Power.
shit. Stuff. Which, by the way, that's not. If you're watching this, going to Body Power is not going to get you any clients. If your point is to be a personal trainer, it's just going to get you some likes on social media.
They go there to get free supplements and T-shirts, don't they?
And that's a point that we were discussing this the other day, and I discussed this with Bella as well, which is, if a company approaches me and goes like, okay, I'll give you 500 euros worth of free supplements a month if you advertise this, it's like, if you're good enough at your job, you can pay whatever supplements you need. You don't need to like put your name and your brand.
So, give me cash. Who's using 500 quid worth of supplements a month? I want cash.
Exactly. Yeah. Who needs $500?
And again, $500. If you're a good trainer, $500 is going to be anywhere in between 5 and 8 sessions. If you're a relatively good trainer, right? And if you're like a entry-level trainer, that's going to be like 10 sessions.
Yeah.
So that's something that you can do in a day and a half. So are you going to put your name at stake? Are you going to put your reputation at stake for just getting some? And then you start like, oh, you need to get this supplement and you might not believe in people needing to get that supplement, and you start pushing those supplements and stuff on social media to your clients and all that. And then how is your client going to trust you if all you do is pushing supplements because you are having you're making money out of that? So obviously you have another motive. You have an ulterior motive, right? So I'm going again on the
tangent.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we could move the conversation into like now you see a lot of young trainers coming into the industry. You see a lot of people that are doing well, and you see a lot of people that are making mistakes. What makes the difference between one and another in terms of their goals when they start and how they approach those goals?
As in, you mean, what is the difference between trainers who do very well and trainers who don't?
Yeah, in terms of do they have different goals when they start? That's one point. And then the other point would be, how do they approach let's say the first 6 months of the first year? Those that do well, those that don't.
To start with, there's a bunch of stuff going on here. Number one is why they've become a PT. So some people you are going to have who get into personal training because they're fascinated by the body. These will be sort of the nerds, the ones who have got into it. They're also quite sporty and they think, right, I want to learn more, I want to learn more, I want to learn more. Now, these are the people who are going to end up years down the line being very, very good trainers. Initially, they may not make it because they tend to spend more time studying than they do on the gym floor recruiting clients, which can affect them negatively and mean that within 6 months to a year, they're back out of the business. You have the other sort, who is the failed athlete. Ex-footballers, rugby players, this, that and the other, who love being in the gym but got an injury or weren't quite good enough to make it pro, these kind of people, and then they got into it. They've usually got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They're also usually genetically favoured. So these will be the ones who tend to go off on the social media route, naked selfies, this, that and the other. Then you will have people who, and this is very, very common in the UK, who have no other career prospects, and the job centre turns around and says, well, we'll fund a 6-week course for you, and you can be a personal trainer and earn 50 quid an hour. Huh? Now, this happens in many, many countries, but it's very popular in the UK. Now, there's also people who don't necessarily fall into any of those brackets, but because the standard of entry and the coursework that is used to certify you as level 3 is so poor, they already come into the industry on the back foot. And they're competing with sometimes very, very good trainers or very good marketers and everybody else within that melting pot, but they didn't have the right base level of knowledge or anything like that because they bought into it, they studied hard, they want to do well, but what they were taught in their level 3 course was quite often it's just straight up wrong, So that's the first protocol that will sometimes make a difference because depending on which one of those 4 people you fall into, your values and your motives going into the industry are wrong. And eventually that's going to fall apart. Now, once you're in the industry, you'll have a combination of stuff. You will have the timid gym floor trainer who knows plenty but doesn't have the showman side, the assertive side of being a trainer. And it's not a case of being a great trainer only. You have to be able to deliver that knowledge in such a way that it motivates clients. You have to be able to read people. Now, some people are going to fail pretty quickly because they don't necessarily have that kind of triad of skills. Some people are going to do really well initially because they're amazing salespeople. They'll pick up loads and loads of clients. They'll do loads and loads of sessions in the first few years. But because they're chasing money as opposed to skill, as opposed to being the best trainer, eventually you can only sell shit for so long before it starts to smell. and people start to notice, hang on a minute, yeah, you're doing 50 sessions a week, but you've never got a result. Yeah. You're injuring people left, right, and centre. I remember a particular trainer in the gym that I first started in. He was just appalling, absolutely appalling. An outstanding salesman, had been in various sales jobs. His thing was CrossFit, but everything you saw him do, you felt like you needed to step in and stop. But he was making an absolute fortune for years. And I always maintained to the younger trainers who was coming out, I was like, listen, don't emulate what he's doing, because eventually this is all going to come crumbling down like a house of cards. Sure enough, a couple of years in, he'd gone through the gym. Nobody wanted to train with him anymore because he'd injured so many people. Sold loads of sessions in the first years. Everyone thought, he's busy, we need to do it like him. Just stick to what you know, do it right, do it well. And eventually, 2 years on, he had to leave the personal training industry because he'd gone into it chasing loads of money, didn't worry about what he was doing to clients' health, mindset, this, that, and the other. So there are so many aspects within that are going to contribute to whether someone is a success or whether someone is a failure.
Would that be a similar thing to what's happening in social media now with the promo codes from X Protein or whatever? So a trainer that might be good, actually, they sell themselves, like we spoke earlier, to a brand. They're chasing money in the short term, and then they have to leave the industry because, I don't actually know what...
With that, I don't think it's chasing money, because the supplements industry now, there's so many, basically supplements whores, both male and female, that they...
Sponsor athletes.
Exactly. That they don't pay them anything. They really don't. Absolutely nothing, especially with social media, because so many followers are bought and likes are bought and this, that, and the other. There's no real accurate way of reliably understanding who's going to deliver value to your brand. Now, that suggests that it's probably not for money. It's all about ego and this need to be famous.
Status, yeah.
It's famous, because now we live in a day and age where people think that having followers makes you a better person. It makes you a more popular person. It plugs those holes in your insecurity. So they chase that. They find a way to be... Look at reality TV. We're going off from the fitness industry. But reality TV is a legitimate career path for young women, especially now, who are willing to be famous for anything. It doesn't matter how disgusting, dirty, immoral it is. All over the world, being a reality TV star is now a career path. Not because of money or anything like that, because they just want to be famous. And the fitness industry is the same. People go in sometimes at a disadvantage, sometimes because they don't have that triad of skills they need, and sometimes, because their need to be famous is going to detract from their ability to ever be a good trainer. The trainers who are spending time in the early part of their career studying don't have time to fuck around on social media all the time. They're sitting with their head in a book. You might see a post or two a week. 10, 15 years down your career, when all of that information is in your head, maybe you're going to spend a bit more time on social media putting it out there. But at the start of your career, you shouldn't have time. You should be on that gym floor 5 minutes before the gym door opens. You should leave 5 minutes after it shuts. Because your clients, the potential clients, your market is going to see you committing more time, more effort to to the gym in your career than anybody else.
Yeah. The issue here is the basic logic is good, right? I'm a trainer. I see a brand. And I need their stamp, right? Okay, I have the stamp. I'm an athlete, a sponsor, or blah, blah, blah. But do my protein, for example, Prothis or XXX, whatever, is not a good stamp. You need to get a stamp either from your results or either for a company who gets results. So imagine I go to UP or you go to UP and you get results. You get your own results and you also get the UP stamp. That's what you need to get, right?
Yeah, I mean, that in itself is a curse. We've had many, many trainers come through UP that the second they have that badge on their chest, they think they're a rock star. And it all falls apart from that moment. It can be a blessing and a curse. I think also that whole sponsored athlete thing has changed, because once upon a time there was 5 to 10 sponsored athletes in the world that were genuinely famous, and they were industry leaders. They actually did know what they were doing, both in the gym and from a marketing perspective, and they inspired people. Now, the word sponsored athlete means nothing because it's just who bought the most likes a year ago.
And actually, we were talking about it 3 years ago. It was 20 years ago, only Michael Jordan has a sneakers brand, right? Now, even, Demi Lillard, who is a really good player, amazing good player, and now he has a sneaker. He's not like anything remarkable.
I know trainers who have sneaker brands.
Yeah, I think... one of the things is when people go into the industry, who do you look up to? So, and that's going to make a big change, right? Do you look up to like, I don't know, I'm gonna say names, nothing against any of these names, because they're like different profiles, right? Do you look up to Steve Cook? Do you look up to James Smith? Do you look up to the body coach? Do you look up to Nick Mitchell? Do you look up to Brett Contreras? Like, we're talking about some people are entertainers, some people are models, some people are real trainers, some people are businessmen, some people are educators or writers, let's say, more than trainers. So it's just like, and I think that's one of the first things I will consider for like a young trainer when they come in. It's like, okay, who do you want to be? If I give you these choices, are you trying to emulate? Because maybe you're in the wrong industry, maybe you're in the wrong place. So let's say if you want to be Steve Cook, maybe UP is not for you. If you want to be James Smith, that's maybe not for you. So it's just like, so who are you trying to be? Are you trying to be, and also in the same way, like, some people, let's say that they want to be Nick Mitchell. Okay, do you want to be Nick Mitchell from 2012 or you want to be Nick Mitchell from 2020? Because there's two different people doing completely different things in the day-to-day life. Like, one was an amazing trainer and marketed very well and grew UP from like 1 to 3 gyms. The other one is the CEO of a multi-continental business. So it's a completely different person with everything that comes with it, right? So what do you think about how, if you were, because in our era, so to speak, we were a bit older. When we started, it was easier because there was not all this noise, all this influence and this and that. So if you were to start today, like young Elliott Upton starts today, what do you think would be something you could tell him, or like how could you point him into the right direction? It's like,
stay off Instagram. honestly, like for me, not only professionally, obviously it's a strange one because everyone sitting on this couch largely makes their living from Instagram by leveraging it in a certain way. I do believe leveraging it in the right way. However, I was far more impressionable 14 years ago when I started doing this than I am now. I was far more optimistic about people in the world. Now I'm a grumpy old bastard, you know?
But when I met you, you were already a grumpy old bastard.
Exactly, but that was 26 and now I'm 33.
This is the evolution now.
Exactly. But it's, you need to choose your role models wisely. The way you've put that is absolutely perfect because nigh on everyone you've mentioned, don't get me wrong, everyone has a thing. Take James Smith, for example. At no point ever will James Smith get my professional respect. As a trainer, it's laughable.
He's just a great marketer.
He knows one thing, which he goes on about all of the time.
Calorie deficit.
Calorie deficit. Well, say, I think the only book he's read is probably about insulin.
Oh, yeah?
And he does that. Everything else, he has no real clue about it, and he certainly doesn't understand context. What he does is he looks at the fitness industry and clients and fitness through a keyhole. His unique selling point, and the reason he sells products, is because he's realized, whether consciously or not, to make people feel good about what they should feel guilty about. And because of that, they buy his product. You know, he says it's okay to drink because I do. He says, I eat a bit of shit every now and then because I do. He says this, he says that. So they're like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Because somebody else told me what to. Not to. And because of that, and I don't think he's done that necessarily purposefully and thought, hang on a minute, this is how I'm going to sell my product. It's just him, and it's struck lucky because he's also a massive entertainer. But if you want to get in a particular shape, irrelevant of whether it's 6% body fat or 10% body fat, and you're going out drinking beer all weekend, you're not getting there. It doesn't matter, you're not getting there. You know, somebody like that, yes.
Well, I'm going to cut you with this, but the problem is, like, I don't even know if he knows that, or he's just optimistic about what can be done, because that's the thing. Like, if you're someone that delivers transformations on a regular basis, you know what is needed to do that, and you know what is needed to get there, and you know that that's not going to happen if you go out and drink on the weekends. It's just like not going to.
But it does no benefit to anyone reinforcing the bad things they do. Now, take body composition out of it. Yes, there's some element of moderation needed for a generally healthy lifestyle for the mental context and social context. However, the way he promotes life, the way he, openly talks about narcotics and all of these things and going out drinking and, he's running around shagging after people on his tour, no doubt. These things, well, you would, wouldn't you, right? These things are not, it's not about a transformation. It's not about all the things he bleats on about, whether he knows it or not. You need to understand that these things cause health issues long term. A calorie fucking deficit, as he goes on about. What that suggests to all of his followers is one of two things, and to the world, is that in order to be in a calorie deficit, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to starve yourself, or you're going to train so much you end up in a deficit anyway. But it's not about that. it's about fueling yourself to optimize how many calories your body burns. Bring your metabolic set point up, all of these kind of things.
You know what,
but he just doesn't, because he knows one thing and he entertains.
You're gonna like this. We were talking today about a metaphor in between, like, like there's many ways to get to, in Spanish we have a saying, it's like there's many roads to get to Rome, or all roads get to Rome, something like that. So you can get, if you want to lose fat, you can get there with a keto diet, you can get there with low carbs, high carbs, these and that, there's many ways, right? But most people just want the easy way to get there in terms of education, so they just want to get the magic pill, just tell me not to eat carbs, that's easy for me, I just follow it. But people don't want to learn. And the metaphor that we were using is like, if I ask you, Ryan, you came here driving, right? If I ask you to go back to your home walking, that's fucking painful, man. That's going to take you a lot of time. It's super warm. You have to go through the highway walking or through the mountain. I don't know. That's what people do with the keto diet for the most part. Instead of learning how to use a car, get your driving license, learn how to eat properly. And then from there, and then if you don't know how to learn that because you don't know which route, then get the right advice.
But using keto specifically on that, though, and you say there's many roads to get to Rome, I'll give you 2 roads. One of them, they're both going to take you to the same place. One of them, I say you've got to eat pretty clean, single-ingredient foods. The other one, I say you can eat sausages, cheese, yogurt.
Of course, cream. I'm going to go with sausage because it's easy.
Of course. Exactly, yeah. It's a marketing ploy.
He was saying the other day, like, when he bought into keto in like 2011 or something like that.
You buy into a lot of stuff, right?
I'm a guinea pig. I like to try things. I lost 35 pounds in 2010.
Awesome.
So I experimented for 2 years with every single thing out there so I could test it.
Yeah.
And he was saying the other day, like, when he bought into keto, at some point, without being hungry, he was making himself rolls of like bacon and cheese, and this, just because he thought he needed to get more fat for the ketones.
Yeah.
So
that's what it does. Context again. Context. It's a big sales play. To me, I actually put a video about this up about this a little while ago. Genuinely, the health benefits of, let's say, a low carb diet, if you want to go down that route for PCOS or insulin control, whatever, versus keto. There's negligible to no difference, apart from one of them is horrendously malnourishing you versus a normal diet, low-carb diet, which is not malnourishing you. You've still got plenty of fruits, vegetables, all of these things.
It's just keto is difficult. It's difficult.
With like low-carb, it's just like a big part of low-carb, in my opinion, there's like 2 points about low-carb that are interesting to me. One is the buy-in in the beginning for the client. If you go low-carb in the beginning, you're going to lose weight in glycogen and water. That's going to make you believe in what you're doing and might help you stay with that diet. The second point is something that I like to talk about in the terms of clean your palate. Stop eating hyper-palatable food that you're addicted to so that you stop being addicted to that shit. And whenever you want to start introducing other things in your diet, is because you want to, not because I need to get a Snicker bar.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, that's why sometimes low-carb diets work for certain people.
For what it tastes like.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to talk about is in this area about over-information. A lot of influencers, a lot of trainers, blah, 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 blah. You are, 18 to 20 years old trainer, and you get to social media and you start seeing course, webinar, books, ebooks, free blah, 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 blah.
Girls doing TikToks. For fuck's sake, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
They're destroying Instagram now.
But how do I select the one that are good at it? Because it's really tough, because a lot of good people talking about in front of the camera, you can buy it. It's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But how do you get, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is good, this is not good?
There's a few things on that one. Number one is track record. Are they or have they delivered for a long time exactly what you're trying to learn how to deliver? This goes for every single industry. If it's personal training, is this person, if you're looking to learn how to do transformations, have they got transformations out of every conceivable type of person? Men, women, old, young, injured, ill, whatever. If so, check. First checkbox. Number 2, a good teacher will teach to the dumbest person in the room, because everybody above them will understand. But what you'll find a lot on social media, especially in seminars, webinars, all these things, is someone's just trying to showcase the last bunch of words that they read in a big book.
Yeah.
So you sit there and think, God, they're so smart. Yeah, exactly.
Hormone, blah, blah,
and
blah,
this
blah,
is even easier in a social media caption. So these people regurgitate somebody else's words. They sound really, really smart. They don't understand it themselves. You're sitting there going, I don't know what that means, but they must be really good, so I'm going to give them my money.
That guy's smart.
Yeah, these are the 2 major points that you need to look at. Have they got a track record and are delivering exactly what you want? And Are they trying to teach you as opposed to show off what they know? That, for me, would be the first two major things I would look at. Then I would sit and wait, and I'd watch them, and I'd say, do I really trust what they're giving out? Are they trying to help me, or are they trying to sell to me?
Actually, that's fun. A lot of new clients for 12 text us in WhatsApp or whatever. It's like, I've been following you guys for, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and now I'm taking I'm buying shit.
But that makes all the sense, because we don't sell t-shirts. If you want a t-shirt, you go to Zara and you buy it straight away. But what we sell implies that you need discipline. You need to know that you're willing to go through what...
Wearing a t-shirt doesn't take work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the first point from Elliott, which is something that Poliquin, one of our biggest mentors, used to say. Actually, I think Poliquin is the single person, biggest mentor in the fitness industry, because he's been the mentor from some of the top names. So in terms of if you look at it from like an octopus, all of the he's touched. Yeah, in terms of training specifically,
you saw it when he passed.
Yeah,
when he passed.
Yeah.
The whole industry, every single big name in the industry. But we're not talking influencers who did jump on the bandwagon. We're talking genuine educators. The biggest, best names in the industry said, he was my teacher. And that's when you start to understand his reach.
So many people you didn't even know he taught. And then you were like, wow. And then they said, I went to his course in 1999, that. And I was like, whoa. And he said, success leaves clues. And that's the thing. You want to know if someone is good at something. Okay, what is the track record, as I was saying? And the problem today is that many Instagrammers, so you have in my opinion, you have the fitfluencers. So that's like influencers that are fit, but that's what they do. Enter-trainers, like the James Smith of the world. Info-trainers, so the people that put a lot of information, but they never train anyone in their life. And then you have real trainers. And many of the real trainers, they don't even have a social media. If you go and see, okay, who are the strength coaches from NBA teams, NFL teams, or Olympians, you don't even know them unless you're in the industry and you know the right people. But you do know who are the info trainers, enter trainers, and fitfluencers. And that is the main problem. And I think there's two ways of looking at this. One part of it is why some of the best names are not marketed properly, and that has two reads in my head. One is because they don't care. That's one main point. Because they care about their job and what they're doing, they don't care about being marketed. Another one is because they don't know how to. And those that don't care, fair enough. But it would be great to be able to give a platform to those that are really good at what they do, and they might not know how to communicate it properly. And that's one thing that I think the industry should strive to at some point. And I think another point will be to have an organism that somehow, I'm against regulation in general for everything, I'm quite liberal, but an organism that regulates. It's so easy, the entry bar in this industry, as I said before, is almost non-existent. And then you don't have anyone regulating that what you're doing is correct, that you're treating your clients the right way. If you go into attorneys, for example, they have the bar, and they can be disbarred and all that. They can lose their ability to be someone's lawyer. That doesn't happen with personal trainers. You cannot lose your ability to be a personal trainer, and that has to be regulated somehow.
I was thinking about this in the car on the way up, because we've discussed it many, many times, and I figured it would probably come up in this, but that will never happen with the fitness industry until it gets the support from global governments, i.e. the governments in each country understanding that it is a very, very necessary profession, one that has a huge impact on public health, government spending, all of the things that are affected by poor health that personal trainers, personal training, when done right, can prevent. I can't see that happening, honestly, because the only way a governing body is going to be able to say, reps have tried it in the UK and failed miserably. It's a private company that's just rolling in money from people's subscriptions by saying, you must have your CPDs and you must do this. But they're still allowing people to qualify in 48 hours.
Yep.
The government needs to turn around and say, do you know what? No, this is now a regulated industry. If you want to earn £50 to £100 an hour, doctor, 5 years minimum training. Architect, 7 years. Accountant, 5 years. You are scrutinized to every possible detail, every part of your day. Personal trainer, two days if you're a CrossFit coach, 6 weeks if you're a normal personal trainer, then you're left to it.
The problem as well, that in Spain, for example, now they try to regulate it, and the way they regulate it is that to be a personal trainer, a qualified personal trainer, you have to be a sports science.
Damn, if they're regulated, they should come to Marbella and regulate some of the gyms here.
That has nothing to do. Sports science, they don't really do that. You know what I mean? So there has to be a career about that with a lot of practical experience before you actually start charging anyone. And I think that one main problem that we have as well has to do with nutrition, has to do with lobbies within the nutrition. You know, like there's many powerful lobbies, especially if we go to the US, that are not interested in people improving their health, because that will imply that they will lose tons of billions of dollars a year of people not eating shit. So
many conspiracy theories you could pop off on.
But it's part of that. It's just like how much money is with like snacks and certain types of foods and certain types of drinks, and then you don't want people to be aware of that, because then you're not going to make money.
One thing that we have in the Spanish podcast is a thing that we call the box of the things that they are obvious. I'm going to open that and say that we're talking about health here. We're not talking about industry. We are not talking about money. We're talking about people who take care of health. And that's what you said before. Like one guy who is not taking, not reading, not going to any course, and just saying the one book that they read is going to affect a lot of people the rest of their life, right?
Yeah, but it's not going to go public. It's not going to go all over the world until the private sector catches on, and then the public sector will be like, oh, there's money to be made there, because the public sector is also an enterprise, right? It's just a bigger one. So I remember when I worked at Apple, their facilities in Cupertino are insane. Personal trainers, top notch. Like you got to be a PhD master level to actually apply for the job as a personal trainer at Apple, and then the rest is taught there, right, in house. But that's one company. Probably Google does that too. Probably Amazon. I don't know. I'm not sure. Microsoft. Yeah, there's maybe 5 or 6 mega moth companies doing that, and then the rest. If you go to Marbella down there, I don't know what's a big company here. What's a big club, ocean club? Let's say they have 30 people working there. You go there and be like, hey, hello, I'm Alberto, UP. You guys, if you improve your fitness at this level, these guys won't be sick as many times throughout the year. So then you'll have more money, and there's also tax benefits and blah, blah, blah. Are you interested? Nah, that's too much hassle. No.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah.
Right? So
many single owner businesses and large businesses have tried that for years. You know, certainly in the UK, I can only give my experience of the UK, but this always comes up against the same barriers, because there is less money to be made now after COVID, because there's a kind of health kick. They have started supplying weight loss injections on the NHS, which is obviously just the most laughable, ridiculous thing ever. And soup and shake diets.
Yeah. Super shake diets.
600 calorie soup and shake diets. Damn. I mean, there's no words for that.
Lots of habits.
It's sponsored by the NHS.
Yeah. Literally, it is. It's all paid for by the NHS. You know, and this is their way of, after a global crisis, saying, yeah, we're going to improve people's health by the most idiotic means possible. It's laughable. But, you know, even on social media, I hassled the shit out of Boris on Twitter, on Instagram. As UP, we've approached the House of Commons to try and say, listen, let us help. You know, along with 1,000 other gyms who will have done the same, but it will not happen.
But, you know, I think, like, as Alberto was saying, think about the private sector, but also when it comes to private sector, let's put UP as an example. UP is potentially one of the only companies in the fitness personal training world that could get to a level in which they can help influence, because they can start getting into studies with universities. They can create certain, you know, you have enough financial muscle that you can actually do something about it. It will take time, obviously. And I know, like, Nick and Joe and you, like, there's some of the biggest names in UP are interested in all this. And I think that's the problem. It's never going to come from the public sector. First of all, because you have sometimes the Minister of Health doesn't know shit. So then how are you going to, you know? And second, I think there's also in terms of incentives, when it comes to doctors or PTs, right? Doctors cure illnesses. Yeah. Means someone has to be ill to start with. And that makes money. If someone is not ill to start with, that's not making money, because you're preventing an illness, you're not curing something. And that, I think that's one of the problems that we have as well. And I without getting into conspiracy or anything like that, you know what I mean? But
there's many ways you can look at this. I don't actually think there's real harm to be done there. I don't think it's our society trying to make harm there. It's just that we are incompetent there.
No, but like, I think in terms of the incentives, what I mean is, if you're going to have, like, some of the biggest companies in the world, the snacks and drinks and that, losing tons of money because people stop consuming their products, but then there's no upside for those lobbies that have that influence. You know, I mean, there's no upside for them. There's just a downside. So, you know, in the US, I say the US because the US is like the biggest economy, right? Those lobbies put millions and millions and millions into politicians' pockets. so that they get elected. And then those politicians owe them something. So obviously, in terms of passing laws, it's not going to happen that they pass laws that will go against those same lobbies that give them money. It's not that you want people to be sick. It's that you give me money to be in the White House.
People being sick for business.
This is a deal between you and me. So I promise you I will not pass a law that will educate people into...
So we need to make people being fit a business.
It all change. It has to come from private sector. It has to come from like big companies that can see that impact. Because they do have an asset on it.
Yep.
Well, things are potentially changing. Look at all of these tech companies now that are doing all of the various rings, watches, these kind of things. There's a big shift towards the fitness industry in huge companies. That's going to have some effect because inevitably people are going to start becoming very, very aware of their health. I know NBA have just signed, what's the little ring?
The Aura ring.
That's going to be a massive deal, and I believe they've just secured millions in funding, and they've only ever sold 190,000 units, which shows the potential of these kind of businesses. And I think that it is going to move. I still doubt that the government will get behind it because, this information has been too clear for too long, and still there's no shift towards doing things the right way.
I think... going back to what I was saying for a second is because we think the government like an entity instead of thinking there's people in the government with their individual interests. Sometimes they're compromised, and that is the thing at the end of the day, right?
Most of the time, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the time, their interests are compromised. Even with like political parties, you might have someone, let's say, in the House of Commons that thinks in a certain way, but his party thinks in a different way, and they have to keep their mouth shut. Because if you say something against your party, if you don't get the backing of your party, you might not be elected in the next election because they will put another candidate. So but it's not like in terms of like conspiracy about getting people. It's just like there's interest for certain people that at the time are more powerful. Those interests and those people that those others, and that unbalances the situation.
Let's take it back to the UP. It's like UP is like discipline, results, humility, hard work, dedication. That's it. Those are the values, right? And then you get a trainer. As soon as they get the badge, like you said, they're like, I got it.
So they think they're done now.
Yeah. So you get individual mishaps from time to time within an organization. Yeah.
Of course. Always. And the bigger it gets, the more they're up.
Yeah.
You're always going to have anomalies.
I just couldn't help myself putting some names out there. Like James Smith, I have to mention that one.
I don't even know who that is.
He's a cock. Listen, in all fairness to him, for as much as I didn't even finish that, he has no good. He will never get my professional respect. However, a couple of things he does have. Number one, you can't have the amount of wit that he has without being pretty fucking intelligent. He's a funny guy because he sees sides of certain things and understands how to deliver that in such an entertaining way. That takes intelligence. Number two, the guy clearly works. And for as much as I think he's professionally a complete penis, people with work ethics, they get my respect because people with a work ethic are fairly few and far between. But professionally a twat, every other side, I've not necessarily got an issue with him.
And in a completely different way, if we were to talk about the body coach, for example, like I might not agree with his methods, with this, that, and the other, but the guy is killing it, or has been killing for the last few years, and that deserves respect, whether you agree with his methods or not. Like he's killing it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people in the fitness industry right now are jealous of his success, and when they attack him for that rather than saying what he's saying is out of context or what he's not really. He's just an entertainer.
He also knows his place. The body coach especially knows his place. He doesn't try to be this ultra elite. He knows, listen, I'm just here to make you move in your living room. That's it. To get your kids bouncing around in the living room. I'm not a super trainer. I'm not all of these silly things that people say they are. I just want to get you exercising. And he did that perfectly. And he's never stepped out of that scope and said, I know more than X.
You know which one I like? When people go on Instagram and put on their bio on the description, go body transformation specialist, and it's like, okay, where are your results?
My favorite isn't even that. My favourite, and I cringe and laugh every time I see it, is Master Trainer.
Master Trainer? What the fuck is that?
I'm going to change mine to that.
Oh, it's just hilarious.
Master Trainer.
Master Trainer is basically, they do it in the UK all the time. At the end of your level 3 course, you can stay on for an extra half an hour and do an extra chapter. Legitimately, you can do an extra chapter, basically, and you can then qualify as a Master Trainer. So you see all of these knobheads out on Instagram giving it the, level 4 Master Trainer. Like,
But by the way, with the level 3, because my connection with the UK is based on like working in UP for years, and then everyone will come in. Like you will get in touch with a lot of people from the UK, and then everyone was level 3, and I was always thinking like, okay, so what is the level 1 and 2?
There's only level 2. Really.
You don't do level 1.
So that's
it's level 2 gym instructor, where you're allowed to supervise exercise or run group classes.
So level 1 is like everyone is level 1 just for existing.
Level 1's CrossFit coach.
Yeah, I remember it took me like a weekend to get level 2 because I lived in London for a few years, and then about 3-4 weeks to get level 3. I mean 3-4 weekends.
Yeah, that's literally it.
To get level 3.
And then apparently you're an expert.
Yeah, I did not become a master trainer though, so I missed that
chapter, right?
Then you're never going to make it. Then
I'm never going to make it.
You didn't even have to pay for the extra. On my course, they just literally said, "You want to stay half an hour later to do the master trainer?" I'm like, "What? Really?" Right, it's crazy. Honestly, well, that's the problem. The people who do it think they have a crown. They really do. Yeah, it's funny.
One thing that I found a lot, and I think I saw it when I was at UP, and I see it when I consult with Vi and Iris in Q8, which is people that have been in the industry for, let's say, 5-6 years or whatever, and they think they're the shit because they've been for 5-6 years, and then you screen them, and they don't know shit. And that happens a lot in the industry. Like a lot of people that are like for example, like, oh, I'm a master trainer because this says I'm the shit, or like I've been training in this place for 5 years. And it's like, okay, how many results do you have? So in 5 years you don't have results, and you consider yourself as shit. You have 5 fucking years to get results. How many sessions you've done in 5 years? So it's just like, that's just like, I think like, for me, one of the biggest things from UP that a lot of people in the industry should catch on, and I think that just strives from the top, from the company culture, from Nick, everyone down, is standards. And I just think that this industry lacks standards, and in general, like getting in, staying in, who do you want to become? No standards.
The whole planet lacks standards.
5 years can go really slow or can go really fast. What I mean with fast is you go up, you do training session, you go to have dinner and sleep, and over and over and over. Or it could go slow and you can stop and think, okay, I'm not getting any results, so I'm going to read this book. I'm going to approach to Elliott and ask why. And
not even just read book. Just go somewhere where people are better.
Exactly,
and talk to the people. Talking to the trainers helps a lot. And then start looking at how they coach people. So for example, let's say that I'm a new trainer, and then I go and I see Elliott with a client, and I say, oh, he's doing squats, he's doing bench press. I do the same exercises, I'm as good. Okay, why don't I look at how he's coaching those exercises? Why don't I go and ask him, okay, when you do this program, why are you using the squat here like this? Yeah. Or why are you putting this amount of reps? Or why are you doing this? Like, I don't know. And I think most people don't ask themselves questions, let alone the right questions. Yep. And if you don't ask yourself questions, you don't have answers.
One of the questions I get asked all the time on social media from young PTs is how to start out when I qualify. And my answer is always, do not go it alone. Get into the busiest gym with as many personal trainers and clients as you possibly can. Because people's immediate thing is, shit, I'm new, I don't want competition. They'll go and do a boot camp on the local lawn or local park or something like that. Whereas you need to be in a gym with as many good and bad trainers as possible and watch fucking everything. And ask the good and bad trainers why they do certain things, because you'll know that some of them are talking shit, some of them won't have answers, some of them will give you answers, some of them will be egotistical. Everything good or bad you'll learn off, and over time, over 1, 2, 3, 5 years, you'll start to understand what's good, what's bad, how to put it into context and how to deliver that. So get yourself, like I said, around as many trainers, good and bad, as possible. That's the best start you can possibly have as a PT.
And that's what happens with many other professions, right? Like, for example, if you're an engineer, you normally work for a company with other engineers. You don't work on your own. If you're a doctor, you normally work at a hospital or a clinic or whatever. If you're an architect, normally, like, you don't go and start your own shit. You go and work for someone else, other people. You learn the craft, and then you go and maybe start your own shit. But in the fitness industry, it seems like everyone is every man for themselves, and everyone, they think they know their shit, and it's just like there's a lack of culture in that way about, like, in Spanish the word is gremio. Was you know the word?
Industry.
Yeah, but, yeah. So it's just basically about, like, that specifically, right? So for example, if you, let's say you're a lawyer, you don't go out of, like, for example, you study law. Let's say you don't go out of the university and then all of a sudden you work on your own. You normally go and join a firm and you learn from other people in that firm.
For 7 years.
and you work your ass off and you do more hours than anyone else, and then you ask questions, and then after a while, maybe you either grow within that firm or you create your own firm, but it will take a long time for you to be qualified, not a paper that says that you're qualified, for you to be qualified. Yeah. To then consider yourself a good lawyer.
I mean, and after 2 years, you go to the first trial, and you're the judge there. Fuck your ass. It's
and
like,
you pitch yourself.
Yeah, it's like, you're a fucking kid. Get out on my court. It's like, hey, what happened here, man? I'm just trying to do my job.
I'm not buying it, man. I'm not buying it. 7 years, 5 years, 1, then 2 years. I'm not buying it. I'm just gonna go buy this book. That in 12 weeks, I just get everything.
But that is the industry, because you face one and be a lawyer, and you say 7 years. No, that's right. I can be a PT and earn the same money in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
That's the fitness industry.
That's the problem.
I think there's also a fallacy in the industry, and I think we can close up with that, which is people think, let's say, oh, you make 50 quid an hour, and it's like, no, you don't. You get paid 50 quid for an hour, but then you need to study, you need to create a program of the client, you need to be accountable to your client through email or WhatsApp or whatever means you use. Yep. And you need to maybe market yourself, you need to study, you need to... How many hours...
If you're half decent, you get paid 10 quid an hour.
So, like, that's the thing. So, at the end of the day, it's like, how many hours you work a week? And it's like, okay, I do, let's say, 50 sessions, but everything that I do is like 90 hours. All right, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was working. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was working at Tommy Hilfiger in the UK for £14 an hour, and then I would go to the gym and do the extra sessions after my level 3 to test the waters, to be like, am I good? Do I really like this? I lasted 2 weeks as a PT because I didn't like it. I like to train myself. I don't like to train others in the gym. Had I not done that, who knows? I might have been online just selling my stuff. And my program probably from you was stolen, and then I put my name on this. You know what I mean?
How many times has that happened that you have caught people?
Caught? Or how many times do I estimate it's happened?
Okay, both.
Caught red-handed? 60 to 70.
Wow.
I would say.
All right.
60 to 70 at
Estimate
least.
It?
Estimated...
700.
Too many years.
I'd say probably 300 to 400 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, anonymous sign-ups who swipe a program and disappear. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's a good point that we haven't considered. Like Carlo was saying the other day, like, sometimes you have people that join the program and they don't even finish the first month.
You'll have a huge drop-off rate because of that.
That's people.
That's a huge drop-off rate.
Many times, some people have no motivation, but usually, as we said, we don't sell T-shirts, so you have to know in advance that you want to do the program. Yeah. If you don't do even the first check-in, we do checks every 2 weeks. If you don't do the first check-in, it's sketchy, huh?
Yeah, we're gonna put a bell there. So every time anyone doesn't do the 2 weeks checks,
potential thief.
What you need to look at is how many trainers are very, very vigilant on your profile, because you'll usually see them showing up in your purchased programs pretty soon afterwards, and then you'll never see them for a second check-in. Happens all of the time. But, there's a combination of stuff. It's, initially you get pissed off, then you're like, oh, well, I suppose flattered by it, but again, it just shows a lack of ethics in the industry and a lack of integrity that people operate with. And they always come crumbling down because, as I say, if you don't have an understanding of the product, you're selling a good product because it's somebody else's, but you don't understand it. So eventually you're going to come unstuck.
And at the end of the day, it's like praise. They don't do it for that, but it's like praise. I think Alberto was saying to me, we were in Bangkok in March, was it? March or April, and then we were walking the street and we were talking about this, about people copying your programs and stuff like that. And then what he was saying was like, okay, like imagine that you go to like one of those street markets or whatever, and then you are the guy that owns Louis Vuitton or whatever, and then you see Chanel being copied, and you see Armani, and you don't see Louis Vuitton. Why the fuck they didn't copy me?
Yeah.
Why the fuck they didn't copy me? So it's the same type of thing. If they copy you, probably you're doing something right.
To be fair, most of them are the same T-shirts anyway. Literally. Yeah. I've got a friend who knows a particularly large company, who I won't name, that sells their T-shirts between average 500 to 600 euros per T-shirt. They pay 10 cents for them.
Wow. Okay.
10 cents. He's very close with the guy who owns his brand.
Wow. Let's quit this shit. We're on the wrong
Definitely.
This is why these trainers start wearing T-shirt lines.
All right, so Elliott, it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
For the first, not for the last, by the way. All right, so we will have Elliott another time in another podcast in English, right?
Got to see how it goes. Just got to make sure everyone likes us ranting about the industry, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Alberto Álvarez, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. So we should hear
Yeah. Alberto Álvarez. Better? Yeah?
Have you heard his English accent talking about water?
That was my accent, though.
Yeah.
I used to have a proper UK accent. I lost it.
And Eduardo Barrecheguren, Edu, nice to have you here.
He said that all the time, like he's waiting for you to finish your sentence, and he goes,
And let's go to an interesting thing. Just thank you for being here.
thank you guys, as always, and thank you very much for being with us.
Welcome.
Guys, keep up next time. Bye-bye.
Keep up.
Adios.
Adios.